There is not a life out there, a world creation that is being lived, and you are participating in a sort of general or non-committal way within it. Everyone, every single person that you know, everyone is creating within this framework of who they have really become and who they're letting themselves be. So what happens is, the more deliberately you apply your thoughts, and the more you get out there in a non-guarded way and live life, the more you allow yourself to have exposure to an experience like that. In other words, what a great experience that is, where you acknowledge that under all conditions that you do very well, and under all conditions that you have attracted a driver. In other words, if you had been behind that, you could have been really caught up in a traffic jam. If you've been ahead of it, you would have missed it altogether, and maybe missing it altogether seems like a better creation than having observed it in some way. It was certainly a better creation to whiz through by the skin of your teeth than to become impacted in it in some way. But what a wonderful creation that you got to slip right through there and feel the power of your beingness, and know that you didn't get bogged down, you didn't miss, and that yes, you were picking up on something that was happening, but you would not have picked up on it if it hadn't somehow been a little active in your vibration. And if it hadn't somehow been a little active in your vibration, you would have missed it completely. Did you get that? If it hadn't somehow been a little active in your vibration, so you come out of that saying, oh, I had a near miss. Well, a near miss doesn't count at all. It was a miss. In other words, people say, oh, I almost died. No. So as you realize that as you receive the benefit of that, and you say, well, maybe this is the way I like to live my life. And we want to say to you, what's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with being out there? This is really a powerful and important thing to acknowledge here. Is it really, would it be better? Let's put it in these terms. Do you think it would be better for our friend to have missed that episode altogether?
No.
Or do you think it was better for her to have whizzed through by the skin of her teeth?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's a sort of mixed response, but the reason that you say, if you did whiz through, is because you like adventure, you like precision, you like thinking, you like guiding, you like fast movement, you like being good at what you do, you like precision, you like exhilaration, you like thinking, you like refining, you like deciding, you like expanding. You see what we're getting at? In other words, no one gets to decide. As you listen to the news and they put out the information of manifestations that have happened to people, we say that information is of no value to you at all, because you're not privy to the vibrational relationship between what's in their escrow and what they're thinking. And so all that manifestation and statistics that they bring to you does is make you often feel guarded, as if there are things out there lurking, ready to pounce into your experience, and they aren't. The only things that ever rendezvous, and that's, let's awaken that word in the context of creation, because creation is a series of rendezvousing with like vibration. That's what creating is. It's rendezvousing with like vibration. So then you say, what was the first worrisome thought I had about not getting to the Tahiti cruise? Did it happen in that moment? No. There have been plenty of, well, we want to be on time and we want to get there, and there's lots of things that we need to keep straight. In other words, it's natural that in your knowing what you do want, you would know some of what you don't want. Any of you who became parents, almost in the moment that it happened, didn't the world look scarier? Just for a moment, didn't more things that could cause more trouble to more people suddenly begin to appear to you? Because you can't know what you do want without knowing what you don't want, just as you can't know what you don't want without knowing what you do want. Yes. And so the more you love life, and the more you, Esther remembers shopping for a cruise and finding two of the most beautiful pieces of clothing that she had ever seen in her life in Seattle, and paying more than she'd ever paid for 20 pieces of clothing for them. Precious, precious things. And then she worried as she put them in the suitcase. She worried as she gave them to the airline people. In other words, most things, lose it, I don't care. These things, she cared more. And on that cruise, only time it ever happened in all of the cruises that they have done, a handful of bags were dropped into the ocean. Esther's bags were not among them. She felt full responsibility, however. She said, I have never worried about my bags ever before. And I really had worried about my bags. So did I contribute to that? And we say, you were in the vibrational vicinity of it. It wasn't your experience, but it was something that was active in your vibration, you see. So the fun of life is just to live life and see how it turns out, and live life and see how it turns out, and live life and see how it turns out. Don't you love manifestations that let you know what your active vibrations are?
May I have one more? We talk about intuition. What about prophecies like Nostradamus? Was he in vortex, or he was out of vortex and people just saw his out of vortex vision and they pitched in?
Well, in every society, there are large segments of the population who are waiting for that final shoe to drop. In other words, it is the antithesis of knowing your eternalness, and it is the opposite of your loving of life. It is that stream, that thought stream that flows, which is a spin-off of man's disconnected thought. And it is someone focused there and picking up on that and expressing that. In other words, prophecies are very interesting because it's an easy thing when you read vibration to anticipate the future experience, because the laws of the universe are very stable. The laws of the universe say if you have activated and have chronically offered thoughts about something, if the essence of the thought that you think is one of gloom and doom and not well-being, then the future experience is very much like your present experience. It doesn't depart very far from that. But we've talked about this relationship or comparison between who you have become and who you're letting yourself be. So what happens is, relative to the mass consciousness vibrational reality, is that the more contrast there is, the more asking you do. We have never seen a civilization, we're talking about your global community, asking with such intensity and deliberateness as now, which means your vortex is spinning and attracting at an unprecedented rate. You knew it would be that way. The future experience is always spinning faster than the past experiences. It is the nature of expansion and evolution. So as this vortex is spinning faster, your relationship to it as a mass consciousness is more dramatic, so that those who are a match to it do more thriving, and those who aren't a match to it do more really not thriving. That's why the rich are richer and the poor are poorer, and the sick are sicker, and the well are weller. In other words, it's like a giant magnifying glass is laid over everything, and whatever you've got going on is amplified. So that's what's happening in this environment. So then someone who's reading energy, the thing about reading energy is just like reading a book. You learn to read and you go to a library and you could pick up any book, and some of them would make your heart sing when you read them, and some of them would make you sick to your stomach when you read them. There is this thing about law of attraction that would inspire you to them, but there are a lot of people that are moving through life based upon what they should do or what's assigned to them rather than what they're inspired to do. So when you begin reading energy, it is really prudent to tune yourself to who you are before you begin reading the energy. And the thing about reading energy is, you see, when you are, and that's what prophecies are for the most part, someone tapped into the vibration of something. It's tricky discerning if it's a vibration of future, if it's a vibration of present, or if it's a vibration of past. It's tricky discerning whose vibration it is. But one thing is always true: the reader of the vibration has to be in the vicinity of it, or they would not be able to read the vibration of it, you see. So Esther, one of her first strong disagreements with us is that she had heard us say on endless occasions that non-physical is pure positive energy. And yet she heard of psychics who were translating for dead fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers and so on. And there was a lot of stuff that was being translated that was far from connected, far from being enlightened, far from being tuned in, tapped in, turned on. So what's going on? Esther wanted to know. What are they tapping into? And we say, you can tap in. You have the ability. You are like a radio receiver. You can tune into any frequency. That's why everything that we talk about is about tuning into who you are, tuning into who you are, tuning into who you really are, tuning into who you really are enough that when you hear something that's not who you really are, it feels off. So years ago, Jerry Nestor went with a friend to the movie Ghost. And in the scene where the icky beings are crawling up out of the vents and dragging him off, Esther laughed right out loud. Her voice rang out singularly in the auditorium. She laughed. And it was almost as if everyone that heard her laugh then had a response to her laugh. Because they weren't laughing. They were believing and dreading and worrying and wondering if those icky beings were going to crawl out of the vent for them someday. But Esther knows what non-physical is. In other words, there was no question in her mind. When Esther hears the conversation about a planet in peril or about global warming, she doesn't wonder, she knows, because all of that defies the knowledge that she's come to understand. She knows that life isn't getting worse. It didn't start out at some high fever pitch peak of well-being and then start sliding back. She knows that it's expanding, that with each exposure to life that there's more asking, and when there's more asking, there's more responding. She knows that the well-being is becoming more, not becoming less, you see. And so it's just a matter of acclimating to who you are and beginning to see the world more through the eyes of who you really are. And then you reach the place where you're so knowing the well-being of your life that you don't ponder and fuss and worry about inconsequential things. You just accept that things always work out for you. You accept that the universe is assisting you. And if something is a little off, you don't have a nervous breakdown over it, and you don't feel unworthy about it. You just say, evidence of a little tweaking that I can do in my vibration. I can focus that into a little better feeling place. And you're the only ones that get to decide what the best feeling place is. For many people, an uneventful life they think would feel better until they're living one. And then they want a more eventful life. And what you really want, you see, you don't want uneventful. You want eventful in control. You don't want uneventful. You want happy eventful. You want expanding eventful. You want delicious eventful. But how are you going to know how good something tastes if you don't ever taste something that doesn't taste quite that good? If all you ever ate was just really good tasting things, your meals would become uneventful, really. It's good that every now and again you spit something right back.